I'm Tracy Sabol. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, threat from Tehran. As tensions rise in the Middle East, President Biden and the Pentagon look to bolster Israel. We're at the White House. Tensions also rise in Asia after North Korea bombs roads and a rail line connecting it to neighboring South Korea. No dice. Bishop Michael Burbidge tells us why he is speaking out on the possibility of a casino headed to his diocese. Plus, pushing for peace. Why a Vatican cardinal is in Moscow at the request of the Holy Father. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the Feast of St. Teresa of Avila. Our top story tonight, under President Joe Biden's orders, the Pentagon says a team of American troops arrived in Israel to support a missile defense system. They will operate a terminal high-altitude area defense battery to better protect Israel. At the same time, the Biden administration is issuing a stern warning to Israel concerning Gaza. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
Tracy, good evening to you. That letter you mentioned from the Biden administration is warning this tonight, that Israel must increase the amount of humanitarian aid it is allowing into Gaza within the next 30 days, or it could risk losing access to U.S. weapons funding. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin warned their Israeli counterparts in the letter dated Sunday that the changes must occur.
At the State Department, spokesman Matthew Miller asked about the letter the U.S. just sent to Israel, tells reporters over the past few months, humanitarian assistance in Gaza has fallen by over 50% from where it was at its peak.
We know that it's possible to get humanitarian assistance into Gaza. We know it can be done.
And as the war in the Middle East continues, with current prospects for peace dim, now arriving in Israel, a terminal high-altitude area defense battery, also known as THAAD, to help bolster Israel's air defenses. At the Pentagon, this update.
You've seen our destroyers engage from the sea. This is now a land-based capability that will be able to help defend against another ballistic missile attack if Iran did choose to respond in that way.
Israel is widely believed to be preparing a military response to Iran's October 1st attack, when it fired roughly 180 missiles into Israel. Israeli officials have reportedly assured the United States that a counterstrike on Iran will be limited to military targets. Nuclear and oil facilities would be avoided. Tehran, meanwhile, just held a funeral for a top Iranian military figure following his death last month in an Israeli drone strike. And on another front, Israel has been escalating its campaign against Hezbollah in Lebanon.
I want to clarify. We will continue to strike Hezbollah without mercy everywhere in Lebanon, including Beirut. Everything is according to operational considerations. We have proven this recently, and we will continue to prove it in the coming days as well.
The deputy leader of Hezbollah warning,
since the Israeli enemy has targeted all of Lebanon, we have the right, from a defensive position, to target any point within the Israeli entity, whether in the center, north, or south.
Also, over the last several hours, Israeli airstrikes have killed multiple people in Gaza, and the Israeli military says it tries to avoid harming civilians, but blames their deaths on Hamas. At the same time, the war has destroyed large areas of Gaza and displaced about 90% of its population of some 2.3 million people. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
With the THAAD system and roughly 100 U.S. soldiers to operate it now on the ground in Israel, ready to defend America's top ally in the Middle East against a missile attack, the top Democrat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee weighed in on the latest development.
And unfortunately, we need to have Americans there to operate those systems because the Israelis don't. And so to protect Israeli innocent citizens, that's the reason why the administration is sending that in. But most importantly, I think, is that we still need to have a negotiated agreement.
The presence of U.S. troops also places them in the line of fire if another Iranian strike on Israel were to happen. The Biden administration also believes that sending a THAAD battery to Israel has eased some of Israel's concerns about possible Iranian retaliation and general security issues. And for more, let's bring in Stephen Cook with the Council on Foreign Relations. He is a senior fellow in Middle East and Africa Studies. Stephen, great to be with you again. As Owen mentioned, State Department spokesman Matthew Miller confirmed the U.S. sent a letter warning Israel of consequences in the next 30 days if it does not allow more humanitarian aid into Gaza. What kind of consequences could the U.S. impose?
Well, this letter is actually something that the administration is required to do if it believes that the Israelis are not providing enough humanitarian aid to Gaza. It's not that aid is not at its lowest point, but it is not as high as it was this past spring. The consequences may be a pause of certain weapon systems bound for Israel. This obviously isn't unprecedented. The United States has paused the delivery of 2,000-pound bombs and some other components in the past year. But this is intended, and it was something that was done at the behest of Congress, intended to send a message to the Israelis that humanitarian aid is a high priority for the United States. There's a debate in Israel about whether actually to facilitate humanitarian aid that many Israelis and the Israeli government believes is hijacked by Hamas.
One thing the U.S. is sending to Israel is the THAAD missile defense system. I want to talk more about that. What does that signal about the ongoing threat from Iran and its proxies? And do you think it will act as a possible deterrent to Iran?
Well, the THAAD system is a very sophisticated system. There's only 9 of them in the world. And what it is an effort on the part of the United States to incentivize the Israelis, actually, to not hit Iran's nuclear sites or energy infrastructure by indicating to the Israelis that there is a sophisticated defense system. This is sort of part of a negotiation between Jerusalem and Washington over what Israel's target set will be when it does finally respond to the Iranians. Of course, there is the problem of Iran's ballistic missiles, which are the largest. Iran has the largest inventory of ballistic missiles in the region and can do a lot of damage to Israel. So that THAAD defense system is actually very important and a crucial component now of Israel's multi-layered air defense system.
Yeah, and talking about Israel planning to retaliate against Iran, the Washington Post had a report that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has given his assurances to the Biden administration that they won't attack Iran's nuclear facilities or oil fields until after the election. However, the Prime Minister's office responded on X saying that Israel would listen to the U.S. but would make final decisions based on its national interest. How do you see this playing out?
Well, I would listen to this statement from the Prime Minister's office on X. I give that greater weight than a Washington Post report based on people familiar with discussions. That's a direct quote. I think the Israelis have been listening to American advice, but they haven't always followed that advice. So I would not be surprised if the Israelis, based on their own calculations of what their interests are and what their security are, in fact, attack energy infrastructure or the Iranian nuclear program.
Yeah, let's talk about this really quickly. Almost out of time here, but if they were to attack Iran's oil fields, say, or facilities, what kind of impact would that have on the country?
Well, I think the potential is, especially with the energy infrastructure, it would squeeze the Iranian economy and make things more difficult for Iranians.
All right, and we'll leave it right there. We'll see what happens. Stephen, always great to hear from you. Thanks for your insights.
Thank you.
All right, we are just 3 weeks from Election Day. Both presidential candidates spoke in the important battleground state of Pennsylvania, offering contrasting visions for the country. Vice President Harris and former President Trump spoke to crowds on arguably the most important issue, the economy.
So dude wants to talk about his plans, which really are about cutting taxes for the richest people. Please do check out the Wall Street Journal or Goldman Sachs or the 16 Nobel laureates or Moody's, who have all analyzed the plans and said mine will strengthen the economy, his will make it weaker.
Former President Trump asserted his vision to assist the economy during a town hall in Oaks, Pennsylvania.
We have more liquid gold under our feet than Saudi Arabia, than Russia, than any other country. I'm going to bring down your energy costs 50% in the first year, 50%. And I better do it because I'm all over the place saying I'm going to have problems if I don't get it done.
During the former president's town hall, 2 medical emergencies prompted the event to stop, and rather than continuing to take questions while the people were being treated, the former president called for music and danced with supporters. Both candidates have thrown themselves fully into the Keystone State. In the home stretch in the race for the White House, Vice President Harris announced a plan to give black men more economic opportunities. Some Democrats are worried that African-American males may sit out the election or vote for Donald Trump. Republican Congressman Byron Donald says Harris's plan is nothing more than an election year push for votes.
Everybody knows it's phony and it's fake. It's pandering. It's just politics, and it's not real. At the end of the day, what black men are looking for, like all men in our country and all people, is an economic agenda that actually works to helping you grow your wages, have prices be stable, be able to build wealth, and to pass something on to the next generation.
Meanwhile, Congressman Josh Gottheimer is one of over 30 House lawmakers pledging to respect the November election results.
A group of us in a bipartisan way came together around that unity commitment to say we're going to recognize the outcome of the election and as importantly, ensure calm and civility. We'd hope that everyone would join on, and we're circulating it around to get others too. And a lot of my colleagues I know are signing on every week.
But the pledge does not require them to certify election results when Congress meets on January 6th. A former special prosecutor, Nathan Wade, who was involved in President Trump's election interference case in Fulton County, Georgia, appeared on Capitol Hill today. This is video of Mr. Wade arriving to give a closed-door deposition to the House Judiciary Committee. He stepped down from his role following reports that he had a personal relationship with Fulton County District Attorney Fondy Willis. She wrote to both he and the committee, saying her office opposed the sharing of any details about the ongoing case. All right, turning now to the Korean Peninsula, where tensions continue to escalate. South Korea is condemning recent military action by neighboring North Korea. Earlier today, Pyongyang blew up roads and rail links connecting the two countries. The strike prompted Seoul to fire warning shots toward North Korea. This comes after North Korea accused the South of flying drones over Pyongyang. One church leader in South Korea is losing hope for a peaceful solution between the two countries, saying, quote, "I think many young people in the South are beginning to believe that reconciliation or reunification are not viable paths. Hope is fading." So Archbishop Chung tells Fides news agency that. Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accuses North Korea of sending its citizens to fight for Russia in Ukraine. Zelensky says that he is seeing, quote, "an increasing alliance between Moscow and Pyongyang that is no longer just about transferring weapons." The Kremlin has dismissed the allegations as another hoax. South Korea's defense minister says that his country is monitoring the situation and the claims could be true. Relations between Canada and India have fallen to an all-time low. The countries have expelled each other's top diplomats. The dispute centers over last year's assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. India had labeled him as a terrorist. The Prime Minister Justin Trudeau claims police uncovered evidence of a campaign targeting Canadian citizens by agents of the Indian government.
Let me be clear. The evidence brought to light by the RCMP cannot be ignored. It leads to one conclusion. It is necessary to disrupt the criminal activities that continue to pose a threat to public safety in Canada. That is why we acted, because we will always, first and foremost, stand for the rights of Canadians to feel safe and secure in their own country. We will never tolerate the involvement of a foreign government threatening and killing Canadian citizens on Canadian soil, a deeply unacceptable violation of Canada's sovereignty and of international law.
And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including losing a bet. What a bishop in Virginia thinks about the push to put casinos in Virginia. Election Day is just 3 weeks away, and there is more on the ballot than the race for the White House and control of the Halls of Congress. In Missouri, voters are considering a measure to become the 39th state with legalized sports gambling. And outside the nation's capital in Fairfax County, Virginia, some lawmakers are pushing for a vote next year on whether to build a casino. There is initial opposition over fears of rising crime and lowered real estate costs. Bishop Michael Burbidge of the Diocese of Arlington is issuing words of caution against the push for a casino in his diocese. The Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches that games of chance, such as card games and wagers, are not in themselves contrary to justice. Gambling becomes morally unacceptable, however, when it deprives a person of what is necessary to provide for their needs and those of others. The Catechism adds that a passion for gambling risks becoming an enslavement. And Bishop Michael Burbidge from the Diocese of Arlington, Virginia, joins us now. Your Excellency, great to see you again. Welcome back. As mentioned, the possible vote on a casino in Fairfax County would not come until about 2025 at the earliest. So why are you addressing this topic now? Why is it so important?
Well, I speak as a pastor, Tracy, and whenever we hear the word gambling, we know that there is a need for vigilance. As you correctly stated, as individuals, we always must make sure that gambling does not take us away from providing that which is necessary for ourselves and for others. And we're vigilant because we know that gambling can easily turn into an addiction. It has that power. And so I'm speaking on this issue as a pastor, and having seen, as many of our priests have seen, when this gambling does become addiction, it impacts families. It can impact families in a negative way. And the church becomes the first responder to be able to provide now for the rent or for the basic necessities that had been lost because of this gambling addiction. So the issue surfaced, and I took this opportunity to speak as a pastor. The church, as you mentioned, with games of chance and things like that, tolerates gambling, betting, but doesn't necessarily endorse it. And so I'm just asking all of us, when we hear about this issue, to be vigilant, not to allow something that should be fun to be enjoyable to become something that is an enslavement. And keeps us from being free.
Absolutely. And it's becoming more and more popular. I mean, we have 38 U.S. states that have already legalized sports gambling, including actually Virginia, which did so in 2021. You talked a little bit more about it, but what have you noticed, or what are you hearing from your brother bishops on this issue?
Well, we all see it as a pastoral problem and the negative impact it can have on family life. You know, Tracy, I'm a sports fan too. I enjoy sports. I love watching sports. And that's what it should be. It should be enjoyable. But when you are putting money down on whether someone makes a field goal or whether someone scores a touchdown or hits a home run, and actually your welfare, your well-being of your families depending on whether that home run is hit or that field goal is kicked, you're not enjoying sports. You're not enjoying it. It's controlling you, and it's causing stress and it's causing anxiety, which leads to all kinds of other problems. So I'm a big sports fan, and yet I'm seeing the dangers of how available the sports betting is, how addictive it's becoming, even with our young people. You know, I was just in a festival the other day, and with Sunday football was going on, and I saw a couple people, they weren't even watching the games. They were watching all the bets they had made on different outcomes of different, they weren't enjoying that, and they were stressed. I could see it. So I'm speaking, we don't want gambling, sports betting, anything like that to become an addiction, to become an enslavement, to take away from the freedom, the joy that should come with something that we would call meant for our enjoyment.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, any advice for the faithful on this?
Well, yes, I would definitely, be mindful of how quickly and easily gambling can take hold of us. And if you know yourself or anyone else who is struggling with this issue, there is plenty of help available, and not to be afraid to call upon that assistance. But stay vigilant, enjoy games and sports, allow them to be for that purpose, not anything to put you or your family at risk.
Now, Bishop Burbidge, thank you so much for coming on and speaking about this. It's really important. We appreciate it. God bless you.
Thanks, Tracy. God bless.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, pursuit of peace. A Vatican cardinal goes to Moscow on a mission from Pope Francis. We'll explain. Plus, a check-in from the Synod on Synodality in Rome, including reaction from Bishop Robert Barron. A representative of the Vatican is in Moscow meeting with Russian officials as part of a peace mission from Pope Francis. The Holy See says Cardinal Matteo Zuppi is seeking the reunification of families along with another exchange of prisoners and much hope for peace. The trip comes just days after Ukraine's leader Volodymyr Zelensky was at the Vatican as part of a European tour seeking an end to the war in Ukraine. He and the Holy Father met in a private audience for 35 minutes. The Synod on Synodality is entering its third week in Rome, and one church leader is warning against fatigue. Cardinal Jean-Claude Ulrich asked participants to have the same energy now as they did when the process began. This week, the global gathering will focus on the Church's authority. EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief Andreas Tannhauser has more.
Benediciamo il Signore.
Synod participants arrive at the Vatican for the third week of Synod discussions, explaining a new part of the Synod's working document that focuses on the theme of places. Synod General Rapporteur Cardinal Jean-Claude Ulrich noted how this phase of the Synod will focus on relationships established between cultures and the diverse needs of churches and communities around the world.
Il Santo Padre ci ha convocato qui.
The Holy Father has summoned us here to listen to our advice, including on how to make his service and that of the Roman Curia more effective today. He is entitled to know what we really think, starting from the lives and needs of the people of God in the places which we come.
Nei luoghi di cui proveniamo.
Reflecting on the meaning of synodality, Bishop Barron spoke with EWTN News' Colm Flynn in an exclusive interview, emphasizing the importance of lay participation in the church and the world.
You know, the famous question, what is synodality? What do you mean? To me, it's clearer this time around. I would say three basic things. Wider consultation, greater accountability, greater transparency are the marks of synodality.
Different Eastern Catholic churches are also present at the Synod. Archbishop Philip Kocsis, president of the Council of the Hungarian Church, explained how different experiences and perspectives make the Catholic Church truly universal.
For us, it's very interesting as well to see that the others had a very different problems like the ours. And I see that we can help to encourage, for example, and to share our own experience. Who can compare one and each other.
Tomorrow, Synod participants will gather for the weekly Mass at St. Peter's Basilica and continue their theological pastoral forums to discuss the way the Church on mission can apply synodality.
So the big topic this week is decentralization. So to what degree can local churches and not the Vatican here have the authority and the power to make doctrinal decisions? So the Synod delegates are actually considering a proposal this week to give national bishops' conferences doctrinal authority to make some of those tough decisions on teaching and discipline in their own context instead of here in the Vatican.
In Rome, Andreas Tannhauser, EWTN News Nightly.
And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sabol. Good night and God bless.